do you think that perfectionism in parents, leaders, coaches is actually getting worse because of the need to look good, the need to uphold a certain standard and image that we are now forced to see through social media, information overload that we wouldn't have perhaps had in the past? Because if you can see the level that someone's at more often now, then it surely has an impact on you. And I think of it kind of like this optimizing parenting. Are you the optimal parent? And I've got friends who are parents and you could be looking at the person next to you and going, I need to be at that standard. They're parenting so well, or they're coaching so well, and can I get there? So that Machiavellianism and would then kick in surely off the back of a narcissistic tendency. What do you think?
Yeah, so I go back to one of the first things you said there about whether it's getting worse. I think I don't know if you've came across the term before, but it's super interesting. This idea of the professionalization of youth sport. So it I think it's a term that's coined by Dan Gould, and it probably appeared first at like 2009, but it's since reared its head again more recently. And it's this idea that rather than youth sport context being about the child and the development of lots of important areas of their life beyond just performance, albeit performance being really important, but the development of things like psychosocial skills, communication, for example, coping skills when it comes to stress. This is how we often view youth sport, but more and more we move away from that sort of model. There's evidence now that more so than ever before, we adopt more of an elite entertainment model of sport at the youth level, which is very different from what I've just described. So it's a model of sport that focuses on competitive success as the sort of principal aim. It focuses on or prioritizes early sport specialization. So this idea that from a young age we need to focus on one sport and one sport only at the expense of sampling lots of other sports and learning lots of other skills. Many of which would be transferable, of course, and others of which may be actually at a higher level than the sport you actually started out playing. And it focuses on other aspects like placing a huge sort of emphasis on rewards, trophies, medals, rankings, for example. So all the things that you would think about as a former elite athlete yourself and what you did in terms of intense training, multiple days of training, and applying that same sort of model to a youth sport context. So there's evidence now that more so than ever before, that's what we see at youth levels. And you only need to talk to parents who have children who play sport to get any sort of anecdotal evidence that these environments exist everywhere. Or look at social media, like you said. The amount of times that I'll go, I occasionally visit Facebook and see a video of somebody I went to school with who's got their child in a additional one-on-one football training session with a professional coach at the age of like 8 years old. And I'm thinking, what on earth is happening where when I was younger, you go to training once a week and you play a game. And now people go to training multiple times a week. They do complex, tactical set play and all these other weird things. And they have these additional training sessions, which I think is just bizarre. But there's definitely more of a shift towards this model of youth sport. And it comes with dangers, and it comes with, pictures of parents yelling at their child. It comes with parents berating referees and officials. It comes with undue pressure put on children. And it also comes with things like potential for burnout, the development of cynical attitudes towards sport, as in, what's the point? I'm not good at sport. It comes with the potential of overuse injuries if you're training more than you need to be, or in a way that's more complicated than you need for your age and maturation. It comes with problems for injury. So it's not a good look for sport, I don't think. And there's evidence that's linked to that it encourages perfectionistic behavior implicitly from parents and from coaches who just think this is the way sport should be. I think there's evidence to say that more perfectionistic parents have more positive views on this type of model of sport. So they think that it's a good thing that should be encouraged. And I'm talking specifically about this view of early specialization, but that's part of the model, obviously. And so if you're more perfectionistic as a parent and you're more authoritative in your sort of parenting style, you're more likely to view that way of sport as being a good thing, something that should be encouraged, revered, something that works. So I think it's becoming more of a problem, and it's to a large extent accounting for a lot of the perfectionist parenting behaviors that you may have came across.
Well, I think you touched on something there that I've been thinking about a fair amount, which is the draw for the high standards and high expectations and the drive and the motivation, all the perfectionistic strivings that exist within a perfectionistic individual, either parent or child, teenager, adult, whatever. That is such an attractive draw because we know that without those, you're not really going to create some form of success or high achievement. Yes, the cost is going to be burnout, it's going to be injuries, it's going to be really lonely potentially, it's going to be a hard slog. But does that high standard, that drive, and all these shiny objects have far greater pull? And then from a parent's point of view, I think you get one story such as the Tiger Woods, where every parent then thinks it's got to be done like that, and that's the route to success. And you think, well, LeBron James's upbringing wasn't like that. His mother wasn't like Earl Woods, and it didn't really work out like that. And it's interesting that I've just come and I'm in the tennis world, and that is for me where this is just huge. Perfectionistic parenting in tennis for me is massive because you've got a parent on the sidelines usually traveling around with the kid, and the kid is in full control of their sport. Then they can't get any sideline coaching. Well, you can in some tournaments now, but they can't speak to them. But the parents are like tearing their hair out from the side, so they spend 2, maybe 3 sets as a junior watching this match unfold however it will, and then at the end when the kid comes off court, that's where it just kicks off. I would hate to be in a perfectionistic parent that's in tennis in their car after a tournament. I would hate to see that. I can't imagine the amount of maladaptive behaviors that are going on there. But it's do we run the risk of trying to remove some of these perfectionistic strivings, all the positive things of perfectionism? Do we run the risk of losing that high achievement from it?
Yeah, so where my view on this is that when there's an issue with terminology often in the field, that I believe, where I would probably argue personally that perfectionist standards are unrealistic, unobtainable standards. So I struggle to see a situation when setting unrealistic, unobtainable standards would ever be useful for a child.
If you enjoyed that clip with Michael and you want to watch the full unedited version of the episode, then all you got to do is click right here.